A very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us on the Tuesday edition of the show. I'm Yemi Adebayo. It's still the season of the World Cup. As a matter of fact, a semi-final game currently going on. We'll talk much about that later on as we move on the show. As you would expect, a large part of the show will be dedicated to everything going around the World Cup. Of course, semi-finals going on, as I said, Argentina and Croatia. Both teams played each other in the group phase at the last World Cup. Incidentally, that group also had, of course, Nigeria. So we'll talk about that as we move on. We'll also talk about the CAF Confederation Cup. Yesterday, Nigeria's representative, Rivers United, were drawn in Group B. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about of course, issues relating to sports development, plans to make sports develop in the country. That's basically the outlook of the show tonight. So I urge you to sit back, relax, as we take you on this trip across the money-spinning world of sports. So let's just go straight into it tonight as we go on the show. Let me quickly introduce my partner. Sits with me in the Lagos studio. Nwako Ebenezer joins us tonight. Greetings to you. Thanks for finding out time to be with us on the show.
Thank you. It's nice having me on the show too.
All right, and let me also quickly bring on the show tonight. He joins us via Zoom. Dakpo Damola joins us on the show tonight. Greetings to you, Dakpo. Thanks for finding our time to be with us on the show tonight.
Always a pleasure to be part of the team. Nice to see you again.
All right, feels good to see you too. I guess compliments of the season in order to say.
Absolutely. It's going to be a wonderful Christmas, I think.
All right. Let me just go with you. I'm very sure before we came on set, you caught a glimpse of what was going on in that semi-final. I know you're not able to do now because you're on air with us. But what do you make of what you saw in the first 45 minutes?
Well, it's not surprising, really, because for me, the Croats, what has happened so far, which is what we saw at the last World Cup also, what they build themselves, what the team is built upon is resilience, the capacity to come back. Sometimes I think they build themselves as underdogs, so it doesn't matter what happens. When they concede, they believe they can come back. Though, of course, I must confess that the Julian Alvarez goal was something. It's a stunner for the World Cup, a semi-final. A solo goal, that's something else. You will have expected that from a Lionel Messi, but it's obvious that the new generation are learning a lot from Messi. And so for me, it's something that is exciting to see. 2-0 up doesn't mean that the game is over. I don't think so. We saw it against the Netherlands. They were 2-0 down and they came back and they had to be settled by penalties. So do you think the Croats can come back? I won't be surprised I won't be surprised if they come back, except a third goal will be a killer. So if they can ensure that a third goal doesn't come in early in the second half, I don't see why they cannot equalize 2 goals. They have the players, they have the experience. Ivan Perisic, Luka Modric, Mateo Kovacic, they have brilliant players who are. What you see them do in their teams, the European teams they play for, is what they represent, corporately. And that is, again, I repeat, resilience. They have the capacity to bounce back. So don't be surprised if, for some reasons, they are able to shock, the Argentines. So it won't be surprising.
All right, I'll come back to you, Dak, but let me just quickly get to Ebenezer, who's here with me. Ebenezer, we saw the first half together.
Yeah.
Before I ask you if the Croats can come back, because that's the poster that was given us, and it will be interesting to see whether or not they can come back. We've seen teams come back from 2 goals. But your thoughts from that, what you saw in that first half?
I was not expecting a goal feast in the first half, but because it's a semi-final, I was expecting both teams to be conservative, but the Croatian keeper made a blunder. Alvarez was not going to score that opportunity, but he won a penalty for the opposition team and they scored. And the second goal was just a solo goal.
Yeah.
I think the defense was just everywhere. They didn't, because if you're playing a team like Argentina, they're not going to get so many chances, but they're going to be clinical on goal. I think Croatia failed to understand that. And people said they came back against the Dutch side. I don't think they will come back against Argentina because Argentina, they're on a mission. Their mission is very simple. They want to win the World Cup. And I don't think they're going to give up to a 2-goal lead, especially in the first half. I think the second half, they're going to be more conservative. They're going to hold the back line. And Croatia is going to find it difficult because Croatia, they've had opportunities, but they've not utilized it, especially in the final third. So I think the first half was not something I expected. I expected it to be 0-0, and let's see what's happening in the second half. But Croatia, they've just messed up, and that's what's happening now, and they have themselves to blame.
All right. So it takes me to the poser now. We've seen a team come back from 2 goals down.
Yes.
And if there's any team like that said, and I agree 100%, if there's any team that has shown resilience, in all the knockout games they've played at this World Cup, they've had to, probably just against Japan.
Yeah.
We've seen them come back. So they can take a hit. But in this game, is it likely?
You always take a hit and you take a hit and you take a hit and you come back till you meet a team that you can't come back against. And that's Argentina. Argentina, they have everything. They are compact. They have the midfield. They have Messi. Messi has not been himself today. He has been a little bit down because they've held him back. But Messi is still there. So I don't think Argentina, the way they are now, Brazil is gone from the World Cup. Argentina are the only South American team remaining.
Yeah.
And they're on a mission. This is Messi's last World Cup. I don't think they will give up a 2-goal lead. I think Croatia, if it was 1-0, I would have said, okay, they've done it before, they can do it again. But 2-0 down against Argentina, I don't think it's possible.
Okay. I'm certainly going back to that. And that will indulge me. Before we go back to this game, now that we have 2 teams that have not won the World Cup before and 2 teams that have won, what is the likelihood of us getting a team that hasn't won before in the shape of Croatia or Morocco? What is the likelihood that we get any one of them winning the World Cup? That just came to my mind while Ebenezer was speaking.
No, it's not impossible. This World Cup has shown that you can't rule out teams. Let's be fair. One of the things that counted against Croatia in the last final, if you remember, they played, I think, 2 games penalties back to back, and obviously those they played extra time back to back and they were tired. So if you look at this tournament, you had from the guest in the studio. For me, yes, the first goal, the goalkeeper, I don't know, some other referees may not have given, but is neither here nor there, really. He opened himself wide, somehow he was stretched. And okay, so the first goal unsettled them, and that allowed the second goal. Just the same way that if they get into the second half and the Croats can get the first goal, then I think it's game on. But as long as there's a third goal from the Argentines, then that's it. So that's why I'm saying that the game is not settled yet. And I don't think that the Argentines in this tournament have anything, maybe pound for pound, but in the real sense, even Lionel Messi has not exploded. So for me, they don't have anything serious apart from maybe just expectations of everybody watching the tournament. I don't think they have too much over. It's not experience or anything that they have over the Croats. So if they can get their acts right and they can get the first goal in the second half, I think it is game on. Now, what is the possibility? The 4 of them are put it to the semi-final. It can be anybody. And I will explain also. For me, look at Morocco. Morocco has shocked everybody. They are not conceding goals. That's the magic in this tournament. They are not conceding goals. They're not careless at the back. And they are very compact. Their heads are on their shoulders, meaning that they are very focused. So all the teams in this tournament are super focused. France, for example, they lost Christopher Nkunku, they lost Karim Benzema, they lost N'Golo Kante, they lost Paul Pogba. What else? That team should, in fact, with the number of players they have lost, the quality, not just the players, but the quality that they lost coming to this tournament, they have no business in the semi-final. But here they are. They are doing fantastic. They are doing great. They are compact. sometimes even Kylian Mbappe struggled in the last game, but at the same time, they got the result they needed. So all the teams for me that are in the semifinals is justified. They've done well. Their performance over time in the World Cup has been excellent. They've done what they ought to do. So is it possible for Morocco to shock France? It's very possible. If they could beat Spain, I mean, they didn't just beat Spain. It wasn't a fluke. We said it here on that day, and we're talking about it just before the game. And I'm like, it wasn't a fluke for them to have beaten Spain. I mean, they topped their group. That's number one. Number two, they also, they ensured that, Spain did not score one goal. I mean, even in the penalty, even though you could say penalty could be either, either here or there, but they ensured that they didn't concede. So that is a team that means business. There's something technically balanced about that team. So can they beat France? We can still use the word, can they shock France? Yes, they can. It's not impossible. Even though everybody may be saying that they are the underdogs, they got to the semi-final, but all I want to remind everybody is that none of this team right now, including Morocco, that got to the semi-final, got there by fluke. They justified it. Their results, showed that, yes, they merited it. And so can they go ahead and shock France? I think, yes, they can. If they're going to lose that game against France, they're going to watch it. They're going to see. It's not going to be by a very large margin. It's going to be either by 2-1, either by 1-0, or by penalty shootout. It's going to be tough. And I'm sure, even France, they are aware of that. So, I'm proud of Morocco right now as an African myself. And I think that they've set the bar for everybody there in Africa to look up to, and, for them to be talked about in this light, I think, they've easily removed the appellation of underdog.
Okay, a quick one before I get to Ebenezer. You've explained, but from what I hear you say, you don't seem to feel that France are clear-cut favorites in the second semi-final.
I don't think so. The French, what has gotten them to this point is nothing but sheer determination. It is nothing but that those youngsters have a point to prove. And the likes of Antoine Griezmann, even Giroud, in some ways, and Kylian Mbappe, they've possibly marshaled the team. Raphael Varane, they've marshaled the team, the youngsters to get to this point. Okay? But for me, if they had all those other stars, I would have said it's a walkover, really. But they are struggling too. It's not. Look at their performance. It took a Griezmann magic, to wake up someone like Giroud to get the second goal. That game could have easily gone into penalties or into extra time and all that. So they were not fantastic. Let's be fair. If you look at they were fantastic in their last game. So they got the result they needed. They were efficient. Let me put it that way. They were pretty efficient. They got the job done, but they struggled. Everybody saw it. Giroud was struggling. Griezmann was looking for his mojo. It was difficult. Kylian Mbappe was almost out of the game. Ousmane Dembele had to be substituted. So whether you like it or not, they were not in their greatest shape in their last game, but they got the job done. So that's what I'm saying, that, and that's exactly why I feel that, none of these sport teams are, I would say, are played in a very extraordinarily fantastic, blowing teams away. No, they struggled to get to this point. But all the teams were efficient, but they got there. What I keep saying is that they got there on their merit. And that's why, for me, there's no clear cut. I can assure you that game, Morocco-France, is going to be extremely tough. If the Moroccans can keep their head the way I've seen them play, it's going to be extremely tough. The French have a lot, a lot on their plate to chew. So it's not going to be a walkover. It's not. It's going to be a very tough game because they are mentally alert and they are compact. Nobody's breaking them down. So far, even Spain couldn't break them down. Even in the group matches, Belgium couldn't break them down. Many of the teams couldn't really break them down. So that's why, for me, I feel that Morocco has a great chance to do the unthinkable, against France. It's not impossible. France have the experience. They have, the record going for them. But in terms of on the pitch, not on paper now, man for man, coach for coach, ideas, techniques, and all that. I feel that the Moroccans have a great chance if they can keep their head on their shoulders, really.
Okay, all right. Let's just quickly take a look at the situation report and also a little bit of the head-to-head. This is the second semi-final that we're talking about, France and Morocco. It's going to take place tomorrow. Unless something happens in the other game, we won't go back to it. But this is what we're talking about for now. And these teams have met sometimes before. So let's just quickly take a look at the head-to-head before I get to Ebenezer, and he'll give me his thoughts around this game. So France and Morocco, there are a lot of Moroccans living in France. There's some cultural links between France and Morocco. They know each other very well. But on the field, what has happened? They played an international friendly, France and Morocco, 2007, ended 2-2. Of course, you also talk about another one that was played in the year 2000. France won that 5-1. That was when they were defending champions at the World Cup. They also won the Euro, so they were really strong. So these are the friendly matches that have been played. We're talking about the head-to-head, Morocco and France. These are the times they've come across each other. Whether or not this will be relevant in tomorrow's game, of course, surely time will tell. All right, so that's it. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Let's just quickly take a listen to the Moroccan coach. He's been having a lot of interesting things to say. Let's listen to him and one of the defenders of the team. Let's listen to Coach Walid Regragui and Elias Chair from the Moroccan side. Then I'll come back to get Ebenezer's thoughts on that game that will take place tomorrow.
We don't know now. You have Mazraoui, he's sick. Aguerd is injured. Now Seyss is injured. Hakimi, he begins the competition. He feel bad, but he fight every game he's here. But what I said, every day you win something and you lose someone. But I have 26 players, and if you want to win this competition, you need to believe on everybody.
As a little boy, I could have never ever dreamt of something like this. I know every single player wants to play. There's not one football player in the world that doesn't want to play football, and of course, sitting on the bench is not a nice thing. But if you see what we have created as a team, you can see that no one really cares, as long as the job is done at the end of the day.
All right, that's it from the Moroccan bench. Listen to the coach and one of the players. But let me get your thoughts. Of course, that was laid it bare. It's looked at the permutations, looked at everything. So do you agree with him that France are not clear-cut favorites in that second semi-final?
I think Morocco, they've done well. One of the biggest plus for them is that no opposition player has scored against them. Mm-hmm. The only goal they considered was an own goal.
It was an own goal, yeah.
They've done pretty much well. They did their homework against him. Against Spain, I expected them to lose that game, but somehow they actually won that game. But I think as a team like Morocco, there's a level they get to, and they know they've done well. They've done their own bit. Mm-hmm. And look at this French national team. Yes, they've lost a couple of players, but they still have key players that actually won the World Cup last time out. I think France is not as if they're the clear-cut favourites, but I think France...
They have an edge.
They have an edge against Morocco. Because Morocco, they will take these results anytime, any day of reaching the World Cup semi-final, the first African team, the first Arab nation of getting this far in the World Cup, because the World Cup has become...
Whatever happens, they won't be disappointed.
They won't be disappointed. Nobody expects anything from them. But people expect everything from France. And France, they are on a mission. They want to win the World Cup. Because you don't have any other so-called big teams that are going to threaten them. The only big team now is Argentina. So I think Morocco, they've done well, but the World Cup is not...
It's unpredictable.
It's unpredictable. The only time I've seen something like that was when Leicester won the league. Okay. Big teams are always big teams, regardless of anything that happens. I've seen it now against Argentina and Croatia. a big team will always step up.
So you will be surprised if Morocco actually beats France.
I will be very surprised if Morocco actually beats France.
Okay. So the African in you is not making you back Morocco
We have to lay facts on ground when we don't have to put our emotions
into the game
when trying to predict games. So to me, I think France are the
All right.
favorite.
Ebenezer is going to stick with France for the second semi-final when it's played tomorrow. But we'll see what happens. We need to go on a break right about now. I will say have Dr. Daramola with us. When we return from that break, we'll tell you whatever is going on in that semi-final currently going on between Argentina and Croatia, as Croatia been able to claw their way back into the game. We'll tell you when we return from this break. All right, welcome back. Over 20 minutes of football played in the second half of the semi-final currently going on. And the situation report as we have it is that nothing has changed. Argentina still leads 2 goals to nil. And so we'll be talking about that much later as we move on the show. I still have Ebenezer with me, and of course, Daramola is also still with me. All right, Ebenezer, let's just quickly talk about a few things, regarding the World Cup. Moroccan fans have been trooping in. I mean, you see a lot of these fans, they come, they just book for the first round. They don't know what's going to happen. Now you have the authorities in Morocco, clearing the path for the Atlas Lions to have a lot of fans there. And you can look at the queue. They're queuing for tickets and all of these things you're seeing. And it's not just Moroccans. We as Africans are claiming whatever the Atlas Lions have done, but the Arab world as well is also claiming whatever Morocco has done and saying this is a victory for us. So of the 2 teams, when that semi-final is going to be played tomorrow, it's a no-brainer that Morocco will have more support than France.
Yeah, definitely, they will have more support than France. And I really love this World Cup because it gave the visa restrictions were not too difficult. Because it was an European country hosting this World Cup, you won't have such fans because you feel like, okay, if these people come, they refuse to go back.
The influx.
I'm telling you, so Qatar have been so generous in allowing fans to visit. We saw so much Ghanaian fans. So much.
As long as you abide with their rules. That's the only downside.
No, they have these conservative rules.
Yes.
And I think if you go to any country, you have to respect their rules.
Their rules, yeah.
Yeah, that's just it. No matter how controversial it might sound. But I think it's a nice one for Qatar. The problem is after the World Cup.
What happens?
People still come to Qatar.
Yeah, is it still free?
Because it's still free because they've invested over $200 billion. Yeah. And they have so much hotels and everything. So I think it's good for Qatar. I think allowing fans to come, giving them, bringing down the visa restrictions is been good for them.
All right. Let me just quickly go to Dakpo quickly and get his thoughts as well. Okay, that's the situation report. We just flashed that for you. Argentina still leading, but that's it. Argentina leading Croatia still 2-0 over 25 minutes of football played. All right, let me just get to Dakpo. I want to get your thoughts. On this side of the world, we're claiming whatever the Atlas Lions have done as victory for Africa, and the Arabs also claiming whatever Morocco has. They belong to both worlds anyway. And you look at the situation where now they're queuing for more tickets and all that. It's a no-brainer that Morocco will have more support when they play France. But would that be a factor? Would that be a factor in deciding the outcome of the game?
But sometimes we believe that the fans, sometimes they can be the deciding factor. Deciding is in the sense that they bring some measure of support, some measure of they can help boost the confidence of the team, and so it will not be impossible. But I think it begins with the players and the way I hear them speak. I've listened over time. I think what will be the most important factor is the fact that they understand the French people, but they understand the culture. Just like you can say that they understood the Spaniards. Morocco is not too, in terms of border, the boundaries, they're not too far from, the Spaniards. So maybe in some ways that also played a role. I don't know psychologically, but I think they are more into the French. Even their coach, played almost all his life, even all his life in France. He was a big time player, for the likes of Ajaccio and all the likes, in France. So he understands the mentality, he understands the people, and quite a number of the players, lining up for Morocco were born in France. So they understand the culture, they understand the people, they understand the mentality. So first and foremost, I think that has a psychological role to play, in that particular team. But more important, yes, I understand when Ebenezer says give and take. Yes, France has an edge. Of course, world champions and defending champions, I expect them to have an edge. But that is on paper. Let's be fair. In terms of, on the pitch, what we have seen the two teams play so far, that is where I am speaking from. I'm not speaking from, big names. They've shown us that they can blow away the big names. Okay, Belgium was in their group, and like I said, they didn't have too much over them. This time Croatia was in their group. So it's not as if they are afraid anymore. I think the fear factor and that respect and regard for big names, they've thrown that behind. If it was something else, I could say, okay, maybe they played small teams like Canada, and, as they were qualifying, they were playing small teams, but they play some of the big names, some of the world best. So they don't have respect anymore. They've thrown the regards away. If you listen to what, the player that was just, interviewed, what he said, you could hear the way he was speaking. They don't care. They don't want to know who you are. It doesn't matter what potentials you have. They don't care. And like I said, for me, it doesn't matter how France got themselves to this level. The French team were depleted. And so that in itself, like I said before, it was courageous. So for the two teams, courage has gotten them to this point. It's not about respect for anybody anymore. They are going to they are going into that game tomorrow to test their might. They are not seeing the French team as defending champions. They are seeing the French team as one of the many teams they have to face to get to the final. So if they are in the right place in their mind, psychologically speaking, I don't see them respecting France, and I don't see France, shocking anybody beyond the fact that, if they win, then some people will say, oh, it's to be expected. But I would rather think that you will see the way and manner they will win tomorrow. I don't think they're going to blow Morocco away. If they're going to, like I said before, if they're going to win, it's going to be maybe 1-0. What we call edging past the Moroccans, the Atlas Lions, is what we will see. Not that the Le Bleu will devour the Atlas Lions, which would have been the right thing to say some games back. But where they are today, pound for pound, I don't see the French holding anything over the Moroccans, what I have seen in this tournament.
All right. So it's a special moment for the Moroccan fans, and they are enjoying it. Who knows? Some of them may never get this opportunity again. Things like this comes once in a lifetime, and that's why the fans are trooping into Qatar. They're staying on the queues to get the tickets. Let's listen to some of them share their experience and how excited they are ahead of playing world champions France.
It's a miserable day. We suffer so much. There is no organization, nothing at all. They let us all the night running from a place to another place. There is no control. People running in front of you, above of you. After that, some people, they come at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., they get the tickets. We come at 10 p.m. and we stay in the queue all the night. I swear to God, all the nights, we didn't get nothing. I'm sick already. And I come here for the tickets.
All right. For the love of country, for the love of the game, that's what some of them have to go through. But in spite of what that Moroccan fan said, trust me, if they have to stay 12 hours, 14 hours, 15 hours, I mean, you won't get to that place and not do what it is expected to get into the stadium. Just shows how important. But let me just follow up with what that has been said. Well, we just got an update. It's interesting. It's a fluid situation. Now it's 3-0. So let me allow you factor that in. Dakwad said if it becomes 3, then there's no way back. Do you agree now that 3 with less than 20, about 15 minutes ago, it's over?
Argentina might score more.
Oh.
That just is, there's no
I like the angle.
no way back.
I like
no
the
way
angle.
Back. No way back.
I like the angle you go. All right, before I get back to Dakwa, but I'm very sure Dakwa will tell me it's over. But it's not impossible to think that Morocco can bring fans because 20 years ago, Senegal did it. So if an African team has done it at that level, it's not impossible. But there's still something, and you've alluded to it, Dakwa's alluded to it as well. There's this something that makes you show respect for a French team that is missing a lot of players and still able to play at this level.
Yeah, definitely, yes. Because I think if Morocco actually wins against France tomorrow, I will be surprised, but it's something that is not off the table yet.
Yeah.
Because they've done really, really well.
To be here.
They've done extremely well. Like the other anchor said, the other person on the show, he said, they've defeated teams like Belgium. Yeah, Belgium, they have this golden generation, but they've not really achieved anything. Mm-hmm. Spain is a team under transition. Mm-hmm. They were playing teenagers in midfield. But you're meeting a French team that they've won the World Cup. It was like when Liverpool played Real Madrid in the Champions League final. Everybody expected Liverpool to win that game. But Madrid, they have, people say old players, but they have players that had that Champions League experience. Mm-hmm. And France, they still have this mixture of age and youth in them. And look at Mbappe. Mbappe has won World Cup. He has, if he wins this World Cup, he's going to be ahead for the world best next year. It's not as if he's done anything special in this World Cup. But one thing about the French national team is they're very clinical. They don't waste time in defeating teams. They don't waste time in killing off teams. And Morocco, they are a team that are very conservative. They don't, in fact, just one goal conceded so far. I think it's going to be a very tough game. It's not going to be a game of 3-4-0. It's going to be a very, very tight game.
Close. Okay.
A very close game.
All right. So let's get to Dakwa and get Dakwa's thoughts. Dakwa, well, you said earlier if the third goal comes in, then it's over. As if the Albi Celeste were listening to you. The third goal has come in. It's less than 13 minutes to go. And Ebenezer added that he sees Argentina scoring more. Doesn't see a way back for Croatia in this game.
No, there's not. It's a killer blow. The third goal is the killer blow. I know that the first goal really unsettled them. And you see, this is why some teams are different from the others. For me, the mentality of any team is quite important. And I think sometimes sports psychology, a lot of us, sometimes we underestimate the role of psychologists, in this kind of situation. And that's sometimes also when coaches are leaders, it can also help. But in this instance, for me, it's unfortunate that, like I said, what we describe the Croats, the national team as an epitome for me of resilience. But I think Ebenezer is right when you say that sometimes, there is an extent to which, your energy can carry you.
Yeah.
I think for me, the Croats this time around are struggling, and in this game, something is missing.
All right.
Maybe they'll figure it out later, but something clearly is missing. And part of it also is the fact that they've resigned to fade too early.
All right.
But more importantly for me, I think while we're talking about the Croats, we must also talk about, for me, is a change, is a handover. I think Lionel Messi is handing over to Julian Alvarez, and that's what we are seeing in this game. For me, it's obvious that, by the time Lionel Messi is retiring, the likes of, Angel Di Maria and the likes, it's very clear that you have a Julian Alvarez that will take over the mantle so gladly.
All right.
And he has shown that in this tournament. He has shown that in this game, that he's confident, not as skillful as Lionel Messi. Of course, Lionel Messi, those are players, or Cristiano Ronaldo, they are players that will never come again in another 10 or more years, definitely. But we have players who can at least sustain our entertainment value of their team.
All right.
They can sustain, the energy level of their team. And that's what Julian Alvarez has displayed, in this game tonight. That yes, the greatest or one of the greatest players may soon, of course, will not be at the World Cup anymore. But
right.
Argentina can keep looking forward, to some measure of, quality.
Yeah, I think so too.
In that team, and that's what he has done. So right. For me, I think it's unfortunate. Croatia, a team I love so much. I love their players. They are quite efficient. Any club side buying the Croats, they are something else. But unfortunately, I think another semi-final is not the best that there is for them, to experience at this World Cup.
All right, we can go on and on talking about the World Cup, but let's just come home now. We'll switch gears and come home. We're still talking football, but let's talk about something that has not really given us joy in the last few years.
Absolutely.
Club football. I mean, your generation, you were privileged to see some of our club sides do well. Whatever it was that the administrators were doing then, probably some of us were not around, we don't know. But now, a lot of heartache. We started CAF club competitions this season with 4 teams. Now we're left with 1. So Rivers United been drawn in Group B of the group phase of the CAF Confederation Cup. And they're going to be playing some interesting teams, ASEC Mimosa. They're going to be playing Diablos Noahs, DC Motemba, Pembe. And let me just throw it to you straight. Do you see them getting out of this group and getting to the quarterfinal?
For me, it's not impossible. Yes, you alluded to something that is another topic entirely. Like when I came back on the show not too long ago. I mean, I think last week we looked at a few things, and I said there's a lot of issues that will definitely come for some other time. Part of it is that how did we move from in Africa? Nigerian club sides doing excellently well, and the best we have seen was Eyimba, who then won back-to-back CAF Champions League because of the enormous, motivation that came from, Orji Uzokalu, who was the governor of Abia State at that time, and Anyasi, Now, but the point, that's another point for another day. Reasons being that I have always been an advocate of what exactly is football doing in the hands of government. That's what I still don't understand. Now, today we are seeing Morocco. Yes, we have said something just now that the Moroccan team, by and large, yes, they have experience of players born outside the country, who have been playing their trades in the likes of France, Holland, and all of that, Belgium, and so they gathered all those experience. But those playing at home, they've been doing very well. I mean, this competition in question, I looked at it, and the North African teams have dominated, and it's been between Morocco and Egypt. And so, if you ask me, Morocco has won the highest number of club sides from Morocco have won the highest number of trophies in this tournament. So it shows that there's something they are doing that is right. For me, the first thing is, what is government doing? I keep repeating. I know the reason why they are in football or they are in sport is always a conduit pipe, for those in government to siphon money. That's the only reason why I see government holding on to football clubs. They have no business. I mean, I've said it over and over again. Sell this club. As we're speaking today, somebody wants to, for Bournemouth alone, we are all watching the news, about 100 million pounds.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to pay for that club side. That's not Liverpool. That is not, Chelsea is being bought for billions of pounds. So whether you like it or not, as long as you retain football in the hands, of these jackals, of these wolves, there's no how, football will grow at the level commensurate with those who are running football properly. Okay, look at South Africa. They are running football properly. How many club sides, even a television station, or a television, a media conglomerate like Channels Television is what you have in Super Sports. And today they have a club side. Why can't Channels Television, Channels conglomerate, have media group, have a sponsored football team, buy one of these club sides and let government allow football to come into private hands, and they can run it better as a business. Okay. Government has no business running football as a parastatal. It is sacrilegious. Those eras you were referring to, even merely watching, football and local football on television, it was exciting. Before they now brought the Rothmans Premier League or Football League.
Let me just butt in quickly. Listening to you, I agree with you that all of these issues are probably issues for another day because we're not even going to have time. And I appreciate your deep insights into all of these things happening. And I do hope that the administrators will listen so that
they won't listen. They won't listen. They will not listen. That is their own industry. That is their own where they eat. That's where they perpetuate themselves. Yeah, so they won't listen. But we have to keep saying it.
All right.
We have to keep that, yeah.
We'll keep doing that. But let me just get at least quickly. You've seen that group, Rivers United, and he alluded to it. There's something similar between Eimba and Rivers United. That there's a man behind who's, doing everything possible. So they're not lacking in support.
Yeah.
But they're coming up again. A lot of people, by the way, a lot of people have said they got an easy draw. I don't know if you think that way.
It's a very tricky draw because they are playing teams from the RUC, traditional teams that are good.
Temba Pembe,
Very
Diablo Noah.
So I think Rivers United, the reason why they've gone far is that the government has really supported them. They've not lacked support, they've not lacked anything. And my friend was saying before I was speaking, see, when you have people running football like as a business, people running football because they see meaning behind football, not just running football because the government wants to own football, the club side will do well. And we started with 4 teams and we just have only one. Chances of them winning it is very low. But I think with the support they have, they will definitely qualify from that.
All right. Since you guys are talking about government, let's just quickly do this. This is a season of politics and political aspirants are already, telling us what will be available to sports, what they can do, what they intend to do. In this case, is the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, and he's been talking about how he hopes to get investments into sports and, get sports to the way he wants it to be. He gave this assurance during a live discussion on the People's Town Hall, a brainchild of Channels Television and its partners. Let's just quickly listen to Atiku Abubakar, and we'll come back to wrap things up on the show.
It requires encouraging all sectors of the economy actually to invest in sports, not only government. All sectors of the economy, private sector inclusive, public sector inclusive, sub-regional governments inclusive. What I have found in Morocco is that they have provided football playing fields in almost every neighborhood. Any neighborhood you go in Morocco, no matter a small village, towns, cities, you find that they have provided public football fields, and you see children from as young as primary school children playing football early in the morning before they go to school and later in the evening when they return from school. I think we have to encourage that. And it means involving all levels of governments, local government, state government, as well as federal government. All what federal government can do is to make sure that they support some national governments in providing sporting facilities in public places and as well as institutions.
A private sector-led thing is important, but as the federal government, as the presidential candidate has said, engaging the subnational governments to invest in sports. And the effects can be very glaring. I'll give you an example. Just last year when we had the 20th National Sports Festival in Edo State, it was supposed to hold in 2020, but it had in later. And you find that Edo State government put in a lot of resources, and you find them competing with Delta State. We never really had states who could compete with Delta State. And we eventually, at the end, did win the first position, but they were a close second. But Bayelsa State took everybody by surprise in this 21st National Sports Festival that just ended yesterday. And they swept through to the second position, although they didn't compete so closely with us because we had a very wide margin. But you saw them overtaking every other state, even overtaking Edo State, because the governor actually did pay a lot of attention to sports, and he actually encouraged a lot of their youth. And we found.
All right. So it's good we're hearing all of this, and we're hoping that the sports sector, the sports industry, will get the attention that it deserves, and everything will go according to plan. Well, we're pressed for time. We got to go, but parting shot, Dakwa. I know you could go on and on, but we're pressed for time, and I don't want to get thrown out of the studio. But where can we go from here? I mean, if you can just sum it up in a few seconds. A lot of these people that will be making decisions already know that, look, a lot can be done with sports. The interest is there. So where do we go from here?
Well, first, let me say that the three major presidential candidates, they are jokers when it comes to sports. Their track record does not support anything they even understand about sports in the first instance. You know, Atiku was there. Let him explain what happened with Koja.
Okay.
You know, we can go on with Koja,
right.
we can go on and on. So he was in charge of that. So let him tell us what he did, how they used Koja to transform the pace of sports in Nigeria. It's quite unfortunate. So Peter Obi was in Anambra. How did he transform sports? Tell me one major sporting club that you have, even when sports is directly under government. What did he do with sports in Anambra State? Let him tell Nigerians. So, number 3, Bola Tinubu was in Lagos as a governor. Let him tell me how many Lagos State sport clubs, football, whatever, how many years it took them to even build Onekon, and all of. So we can go on and on. So they should all go and sit down. They have no agenda for sports. All I want is let us see sports totally privatized in Nigeria fully.
All right.
Let every government person hands off sport. Create enabling environment for sports to thrive, and just take your hands off sports completely.
All right.
Once again, I pray for a Morocco shocker tomorrow against France. It will be awesome, and then Africa for the first time. Let's see if we can have a shot at the World Cup, 2023 in Qatar.
All right.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank you for your time on the show today. Hopefully we'll do this again some other time.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
All right, so that's Dakwa Daramola. Unfortunately, Emily, I may not be able to get your party shot, but let's do this one quickly. Morocco, France tomorrow. Who do you think will win?
France.
All right, straight away. All right, Wakwa, Emily, I want to thank you for your time. Today's been your debut. Hopefully we'll do this again some other time.
Looking forward to meeting you guys.
All right. That's the show today. We do hope that you've enjoyed everything we've been able to bring to you. We'll do this again tomorrow. I'm Amy Adebayo. Bye-bye now.